Welcome, friends, to Nale Yoga, the podcast with Yoga Nidra journeys for deep rest and more. I'm Ruthie Eisenberg, and today I'm so excited to be having a conversation with a wonderful sound healer, Lani Levi. She is a multifaceted creative helper, blending her talents as a graphic designer, painter, singer-songwriter, sound healer, and transformational coach. With a deep passion for art and music, Lani crafts visual and auditory experiences that inspire and uplift. She also grounds, encourages deeper self-exploration. As we navigate some really uncertain and unstable times these days, Lani believes that this is an opportunity to dive deeper, discovering that we are genuinely seeking as human beings. Through our pain and disconnection, we come to a deeper yearning for something new. Through her work, she guides others on transformative journeys, helping them connect with their true selves, embrace their unique path, and enter into a space for prayer. Lani emphasizes the need for spaces where we can show up as we are with all that we are carrying and allow our bodies to release the intense energy. Whether it's through her soulful melodies or sound bathing sessions, Lani's mission is to empower others to meet themselves wherever they truly are and bring compassion, love, and prayer to their lives. So, welcome, Lani, to Nale Yoga. I'm so happy you're here.
So happy to be here. This is so exciting.
Yeah. And I just love that we have these overlapping interests of finding meaning in creating healing spaces for people. And you do that through your creative pursuits. And today we're specifically talking about sound healing. So can you share, how did you get into sound healing and how has your sound healing journey evolved?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a musician. I grew up loving music and always singing and playing the guitar and writing songs. And I didn't really know exactly how I wanted to really be with my music. Like, what did I want to do with it? I don't really know. I think when I was younger, I really just wanted to be like a famous pop singer. And then I went through like a very long healing journey in my life. And I struggle a lot with anxiety. I have a lot of anxiety, and a lot of my own healing is around my own anxiety, my own inner dialogue, my own, self-love, self-respect. And so when I was getting older, and I was dealing with a lot of my anxiety, I didn't really have as many tools. One tool that I always turn to is obviously music and also frequencies. There's so much on Spotify, a lot of frequency healing, and so I would always just listen to vibrations. Like when I was just overwhelmed, I would just listen to literally one tone, uh, and I would do that for hours, and it really helped me. And then most recently, about 2 years ago, I had a pretty serious surgery on my leg. And I actually had to be at home with my parents. I was 30, and I had to be at home with my parents, living in their home for 6 months, kind of immobile, basically. And it's a really, at first I was it was obviously very tough. But it was a huge blessing in disguise for me. And basically after my surgery, I invested. I was literally trapped at home. So I invested in one crystal bowl. I needed sound healing. And I would just play the bowl and I would sing with it. I was obviously doing a bunch of other things. I was painting a lot, and I was, journaling, and I was doing a lot of inner avoda. But the sound healing for me really just soothed me in a very deep way. And I became super interested in what is this magical thing that I keep coming back to when I'm in a tough place. And that's when I really started researching and taking classes, and just exploring and buying new instruments and seeing how they affected me. And after that time, I came back to Israel with my one little crystal bowl, and I would, just like walk around with it. Like I would just like go to my friend's house and I'd bring it with me, and then I would play it for my friends, like just when we were hanging out, and like people really also like were like magnets to it, like absolutely like loved it, and they were like, oh my gosh, I'm so soothed, like, thank you, and it did the same thing for them as it was doing for me, and so eventually, that turned into like me providing sound baths for people and doing one-on-one work with people, and yeah, so it's really like just transformed into this. And I think right now, especially, I think the timing of all of um, it was really like divine because right now we're going in Israel specifically, we're going through like tremendous like turmoil, in inner and outer turmoil, and I think that we're realizing that there's really a lot of need to come into the body and to feel regulated in the nervous system, with so many like sirens going off and like rockets and people dying. It's very, very overwhelming and overstimulating. So we need to find more tools of how to connect our mind body together and how we can feel grounded and regulated in turbulent times in our bodies. And I think that sound healing, for me, that's what it does for me. And uh, yeah, there's a lot of different modalities, but sound healing, I really feel like, can help bring you very deep into your body very quickly and bring you to a place of regulation really fast.
Yeah, it's such a powerful modality. And, how amazing that you benefited from sound healing yourself. And now you're carrying it forward to others. And, you're right. In Israel, it has been such a turbulent few years with so much trauma and so much nervous system dysregulation. Um, there's this idea that, sound, it's all vibration, and on a quantum level, we are also made up of tiny little vibrations. And I'm wondering if you have anything to comment on how do you think sound heals the nervous system? Why do you think it's so healing? How do you think it heals?
Really good question. I would say that like you said, we are energetic beings. So what is energy? The way that energy is measured is through frequencies, and frequency is how fast we're vibrating. That's basically what a frequency is. So we are just walking around as these vibrating beings. We body, but really the body is made up of energy. So we're super, super affected by energy, and because we are energy.
Mhm.
And if you've ever seen, we're also made up of water. So
Yeah.
her is so what's really amazing about water is if you put like a speaker underwater, you'll see like I don't know if you guys have seen this, but you'll see that the water will make all these patterns, and it'll create like this picture, and it'll vibrate out. It'll like expand out.
Really?
So that's
Mhm.
basically how sound and vibration affects our body. We
Mhm.
are these liquid, energetic beings, and so we're affected by that vibration. Um, so I guess the way that I think that it's healing is that if you play, there's this thing called resonance theory, and basically what it means is that if our body is made of certain frequencies and then we play a certain frequency that is our optimal frequency, then we'll start like all the places that aren't in that frequency will vibrate at that frequency. And that basically just means that it resets your body, it resets your energy system. It makes you feel at home in your body because that's what your body what your body is supposed to be vibrating at.
Mhm.
Um Obviously, like, it's a science that's still being explored, and, like, we don't have all the answers, it's not super, super clear, but I do believe that, because we're these energy beings and we're made of liquid and we're, like, walking around and everything is really affecting us, um, if we can, you know if we can if we can actually move, um I think what keeps us in a not healthy place is when certain vibrations or certain energies kind of get stuck because because they don't feel comfortable. So we're like trying to protect ourselves from it instead of allowing it to move. And what the pulls and the frequencies do is they basically like shake the things up so that it can slowly move out of your body and be released. We're constantly receiving and we're constantly giving off. And so the more that we can allow things to come through us and move through us, and it can be more of like a dance, more of like a flow, the easier it is to navigate life because things aren't getting stuck in our system and causing disruption and disease. That was a very long answer. I'm not sure if it was super, super concise, but yeah, if you have any more questions, I can clarify.
Yeah, I think that's a really good answer. You shared so much there, and you really packed in so much into that answer. Um, oh, okay. Let me just like let it land for a moment. Um, Okay, the thing that stands out to me most from what you're saying is how we can try to get our body and our mind to synchronize to the frequencies that we want to be on, right? So when people say like, "Oh, this person is on a higher vibrational frequency," what does that even mean, right? Like we throw all these words around, but they're not random, and there is a meaning to being on a higher or a lower frequency. And one of the ways it connects to Yoga Nidra, and something that I've been exploring is, the idea of like brainwave states, right? And so we can use sound to get into the different brainwave states to do like wave entrainment. And in Yoga Nidra, we want to prolong the alpha brainwave state, and then really we want to reach theta and ultimately hang around in delta for a while also staying as conscious as possible. And delta and theta is where we access that deeper subconscious and unconscious mind. And that's where the deeper healing on a cellular level really happens. So it doesn't happen in beta with like how we're talking now, and it doesn't happen. It happens somewhat it happens in alpha also, but theta and delta is the really deeper states.
Right.
So what you're sharing is I think it's very relevant that we absolutely can it's empowering to know that we can have some control over our brainwave states and over the frequencies that we are consciously getting ourselves into. We don't just need to be at the whim of all the energies around us. We do have some say in like where we want to direct it. And it's so cool that now we do have the tools to send our frequencies in the direction that we want them to go.
Yeah, absolutely. We're living in such a cool time where we have so much like access to information that can really help us. I was going to say that those brainwave states, you're really talking about the parasympathetic and sympathetic states of our nervous system. And so sympathetic is, the state of fight and flight, and parasympathetic is rest and digest. So we need both.
Right.
Not one bad or one good, but fight and flight, really, the reason that it's bad, quote unquote, is because we're constantly in that state. And that's not that when you're in that state for too long, your body is just really overwhelmed and can't function. It's survival, and you're not really living as who you are. You're living in this state of survival mode versus when you can allow yourself and figure out ways using sound healing and other modalities to get yourself into, for a certain amount of time, into that parasympathetic place where you can rest and digest. That's kind of what I was talking about allowing things to really move through. Like we go through our day, like definitely being activated and using our minds and like moving and creating, which we should. And that's kind of the sympathetic a little bit. We're using an active place. And then we have to balance that out with rest and digest, processing, and allowing our bodies to really like move through the things that are conscious and subconscious, and allow our bodies to really, really deeply rest so that we can come back to the world with more energy. And sound is a really amazing tool. And obviously, I'm a sound healer, but I also really promote body work. And a really amazing way to also soothe your own body is actually through the vibrations of your own throat. Mhm. And using your voice to soothe yourself. Something that I've been really exploring in my own personal healing. I'm actually learning this thing called Continuum, which is amazing if anyone wants to look it up. And it's basically using when you're in a state where you know that you're in this sympathetic place and you really want to like come back and rest and digest, but your body is so overworked and it's like so intense. So what I've been learning how to do is really using my voice and the movement of my body to tell my nervous system, "Hey, you can calm down. I'm in a safe place. I don't need to do anything right now." And use your voice to move, like you can direct your voice to different parts of your bodies that feel tense and let that vibration like move the energy out. And then eventually come into that place of rest and digest. But yeah, I think that in general, in our society, we've been trained to be in this fight or flight mode. And we're constantly being told to stay in that mode.
Yeah.
And that mode is,
It's unsustainable.
sustainable, and it's also keeping us in this consumery place because it's like we're not feeling satisfied with ourselves, with our lives. We're not feeling calm and serene and peaceful, but needing other things. And it's really not the what we're designed to be. We're really designed to move at a much slower pace and be with nature and be with community and know how to be in our bodies. And
Right.
I really do think that the more we're being pushed into this survival mode, the more we're actually coming back to our roots and what's really true to being a human.
Yeah. Yeah. I really resonate with what you're saying. And yes, a lot of us are living from the neck up, so to speak. Or in our heads. I have a lot of clients who are just overwhelmed and anxious all the time because of the external demands of life. There's so much to keep track of, so many responsibilities to keep up with. It's overwhelming for this. It's overwhelming for the system. And so we are trained and conditioned in a way um, to to be in our head, to think, to problem solve, to stay in that analytical brain that we need so much for survival in the social world. And it's a great tool. And at the same time, it's also a great barrier to our ability to just be present and truly and truly show up like without judgment, just from a state of being and not doing.
Mhm.
And that's exactly what the practice of conscious rest is about. It's about letting go of putting a pause on that analytical brain for some time and entering this state of being beyond the analytical brain where you don't have to perform, you don't have to meet any expectations, there's no agendas. You can just allow your process to unfold, follow your process with curiosity, welcome everything that shows up, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant, and just really kindly allow it to go and move through you. And and that's a beautiful thing. And it almost requires us to get into this like delta is a brainless state in a sense because our analytical mind is completely shut off during delta. And so we almost have to like have this balance between being in our analytical brain and really being out of our analytical brain, putting a pause on it and just entering this beautiful liminal space where we can simply be present, which is so easy to say and it's so hard to do for a lot of people. I know that as a yoga teacher, the hardest posture for a lot of people is actually the resting posture at the end of the practice because it's so hard to let go and do nothing and just be, because all of the emotions will come up, all of the tensions, all of the ignored sensations and parts, everything that we ignore throughout the day will start showing up. And, what you're speaking to of also like taking a pause and and balancing out the sympathetic system, giving space to attune to our parasympathetic system. It's just something so important. And you're right that the more we are in survival mode, the more that it hopefully pushes us to become more appreciative of the other side, where we can be more grounded and more rooted in our own rest.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would gonna say that a lot of times in the sound baths that I do,
Mhm.
I always like introduce when I introduce the sound bath, I'll always say that like sometimes the sound healing, well, all the time, it's basically putting us into a deeper state of being.
Mhm.
Some people that causes them to just like literally fall asleep.
Yeah.
Other people, like they're in this deep restful place, and then all of a sudden, because like, their guards come down, their mind activates immediately.
Yeah.
And like all the thoughts and all the emotions and all the uncomfortable things start like really coming to the surface. Well, I always warn people that like, this might seem like it can be like a very relaxing thing, which for some people it really is. But for some people, it's actually extremely activating because when we actually can relax the nervous system, that's creating space for rest and digest, which is basically when all of these other things that we're constantly pushing down can come up and have space. So, so yeah, sometimes for people it can be very triggering, and I think that that's also why I always say that like you have like it. This is really a time for you to like meditate and be with these sensations and breathe through them and see how does the sound can be very triggering because it's so essential to like it can be it's the first sense that we develop in the womb is our sound. So it can bring things up that from times in the womb, from being a baby, like things can be activated very easily through sound. It's very fascinating, honestly, like the types of reactions that people can have. Um, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and perhaps there is this perception that, you see pictures of sound healing and it looks so relaxing and so nice. But you're right that when we get into these deeper states, there is emotional material that comes up. And this is the rest and digest. We're digesting energies, we're digesting emotional material, we're digesting blockages, we're digesting everything. And we need to have that platform of rest and safety in order for this difficult stuff to show up. So it's almost like this balance, right? Like we think that it's going to be so relaxing sound healing, but yes, but the relaxation is only the scaffold. That's only the platform for, to receive and to hold and contain all of the emotions and all of the material that shows up.
yeah.
Um,
And I would also just add to that it's like also can be very sensational, meaning the body can really like starts talking. And like what I mean by that is like, oh, like all of a sudden my hands feel weird, my feet,
yeah.
like like all these different sensations, which I also believe are like emotional and, probably from your past or your body is saying so much. So it can really like be a very like not overwhelming, but like encompassing experience,
Yeah. 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 The body tells the whole story, and the sound is the vehicle that can bring it out. Um, it's so interesting. I was going to ask you also, how do you see sound healing as combining with other modalities? So, for example, sound healing, combined with yoga or embodied movement, sound healing combined with breath work, sound healing combined with plant medicine, um, sound healing combined with, I don't know, fill in the blank. Uh,
yeah. Yeah. That it's like one of those modalities that I think is collaborative. It should be. Honestly, I feel like it should be combined with other things. I think also because like a lot of people, like for the average person, when they're in a sound bath, they don't necessarily understand what's happening, which is a good thing because like we're not really supposed to understand. Like let's get out of the brain. But I think because we are so ingrained in the mind, so for some of us to actually relax, we need to understand, you know? So I do feel like, I personally, like in my own healing, I have an amazing therapist that combines sound healing with craniosacral and IFS. And like that's like an incredible combination, powerful combination. And I also like love um using the breath, because, our bodies need that, like, need us to be there to, like, you know, fully take in the sound. Um, but I was trying to say that also that I got a little sidetracked, that, yes, so again, I just think that it goes along with everything, and I, in my sound sessions, I also, like, I combine a lot of different things. There's a lot of breathing. I also, do all women workshops where, I bring in craniosacral therapists that, will hold certain parts of the body so that the body can fully feel safe and feel relaxed, and when you're being held, you're being like touched in a therapeutic way, it can really, really help things move through. So I'm a big supporter of like having many, many, many modalities on the table at the same time because the more tools, the better. Like it doesn't. I don't believe in one tool. I believe that like all tools are they're tools in the toolbox to get to the self. Um, yeah,
Yeah, that's beautifully said. And what does the self mean to you?
that's a very deep.
I just had to ask when you said get to the self, I just had to ask that because yeah, like what is the self? There's
Such a good question.
yeah,
I don't know what the self is.
that's a great answer.
I really don't.
I don't either. Where I was asking. I used to think that I had a self, and then over time with doing all of the healing and all of the therapeutic work, I realized that actually the self is
A universe.
it's not something yeah, like it doesn't really exist, and it's not something that's articulatable. Um, maybe it's something that's felt, feel it, but I can't describe it.
I do think there is like meaning. There is something about. I agree with you. I think that it's undefinable, and the more that you like actually dive into this work, the more you realize that it is infinite.
Yeah.
And, like, you can't really, like, pinpoint, but there is something, maybe the way that I would see it is that our brains, we're natural storytellers, right? And so, for us to make sense of the world, we have to kind of, like, have a story, have a personality, have and it's a beautiful thing about, humans. It's, like, a really gorgeous thing that we get to do, is have the story of the self. Um, and I think connecting to maybe to that story or, like, in a way that is helpful, can be one way of relating to the self, but I think the self is also it's contained by your body. We are, like, contained in the body, so getting to know our bodies, is a really good way of getting to know this. There's so many ways to get to know the self, and, there is something about, like, authenticity, I think, that, like, you kind of know when you're heading somewhere authentic for yourself. Like, the more authentic you get, the more concise the yeses and the nos are in your life. That's what makes you in the world is, like, your yeses and your nos, your choices, and, like, where they come from, and there's something about that. Like, I feel like when I work with people, I'm really trying to get to, like, how are their decisions feeling in their body? And like, where are they like what are they wanting to express in the world through this body? And like, where do they want to go? What are their desires? Like, these are all things to like get in touch with the self, but I still think it's all very surface level to what the self actually is. At the same time, we're human, so like that's like that our decisions, our yeses and our nos, like they're so specific. We're so specific. And that's what's so fascinating about being a human, is that we're
Yeah.
so designed with such specificity. And it's like a privilege to know your own specificity in the world.
Yeah. Yes. I once heard somebody define enlightenment as a complete knowledge of everything, all the processes of your body and mind.
They're beautiful.
Yeah.
It's really beautiful.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think, we need the story in order to contain. The self is like, an infinite soul. Like, how do you contain it? How do you define it? We need to have some definition to it. And so we make these stories and these social identities, like, you are an artist, a sound healer, right? You, right?
Really just a human.
You're a human, right? We take on these social identities, right? Like I am a yoga teacher, a podcaster, a mom, a Jew, a therapist, right? So we take these on, but it's not really who we are. But that's not really who we are. These are social roles that we place ourselves into. It's what we do. And we can continue this like, I am not my social identities. I am not my house. I'm not my body. I'm not my thoughts. I'm not my brain. I'm like, but then what's left, right? And am I the observer of these things? Um, what is left? Where does the self end up when we shed all of these social identities, and especially the ones that are bound up in story and in language? I think after a certain point, when we just like go deep into the nonverbal, where the self really, like the body is, okay, so in yoga and actually also in Judaism, we have this idea of the five sheaths. Um, in yoga, the five sheaths is we have the body, the breath, like the energetic body, the mind, the deeper the deeper unconscious intelligent, and then the soul. And in Judaism, we have like the five layers of the soul, the nefesh, ruach, neshama, chaya, and yechida. So they parallel. And so so the body is just one. It is part of ourself, but it's kind of like the outer layer, the shell, the instrument that we have, and the self is somewhere beyond it. It's beneath it. It's within it. It's embedded in it. It's a nonverbal. I want to see it as like this nonverbal kind of knowing and experiencing.
Wow, I love that. And it's just so cool that we're so dynamic.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like the stuff that I'm talking about like connecting to your body,
Yeah.
only one aspect of connecting to the self. I think that right now in the world, a lot of us are disconnected from our bodies a lot,
Mhm.
and we're living in our minds or living like dissociated from our minds and our bodies. So I think right now the work of really discovering the self is coming back to the body in the healthy way, and with that like rest and digest and with that nervous system regulation. And in that place, when you have that, then you can step way beyond the body. You know what I mean? Because we're not the body. The body is a container, but we need our containers to be safe and healthy and loving and kind to this thing that we are. Um,
Yeah.
we don't know what it is. But we definitely know. I think this actually relates a lot to the 9 days,
Mhm.
because um the Beit HaMikdash is what we're mourning. But what was the Beit HaMikdash? It was really this home, a home for all people and for God to come together in harmony and serve and connect and really be with each other. And I was thinking about this the other day, that like our experience in our bodies as separate individual human beings is a microcosm of, it's like this small example of what's happening in the whole world. And I'm seeing in myself and in the world that there is so much chaotic energy, um, a lot of different energies trying to come together and like rejecting each other and like not knowing how to listen to each other. And I have one side of me that says this and another side that says this, and then it makes me really uncomfortable, and then I don't want to sit with myself, and my body hurts, and no. And same thing is happening in the world. Is like there's so many different political parties and opinions and people that want this and want that, and like, how is it possible that all of these different parts can come together and be in harmony? Because that's really what we want, is that we want that harmony. But how is that possible with so many different parts of ourselves and of the world that are opposite, that are complete opposites? How is that possible? So we don't know the answer to that, but that's what we're mourning. We're mourning. We know it's possible. We know that's what we want in human consciousness, is harmony. But we still don't really know how to get there. And through our own healing of really being able to sit with myself and all the different parts, this is like kind of IFS speech, like all the different pieces of my dynamic personality and soul and desires, that some of them are complete opposites of each other, are a complete paradox. So if I can somehow love and bring safety and bring respect and bring listening to all those parts and really feel both sides, like that is so healing. And I also don't know, I still haven't found that like harmony, in myself. And we're still really learning how to find that harmony with ourselves and in our own healing.
Yeah, I really like everything that you're saying. It's just like really, really resonating for me. So I'm just gonna comment a little bit, be a nerd and comment a little bit. So okay, first of all, thank you for tying it into the 9 days and the mourning that we have over the loss of the Beit Hamikdash. Um, One of the really interesting ideas that I learned is how we are a mishkan. The body is actually modeled off, or the mishkan, or the temple is modeled off of the architecture of the body, or vice versa, whatever came first. But even the way that our body is arranged, it parallels the structure of the Beit Hamikdash, where the Kodesh HaKodashim is the pineal gland in the epicenter of our brain. It's like very interesting. I listened to this really fascinating lecture on it, and so this loss of the Beit HaMikdash that we're mourning, we're not just mourning a building. We're also mourning the fragmentation of ourselves and our communities, our land, our communities, the nations, and the fragmentation of the world at large. And it's almost like the pineal gland is something that's very underused. It's something, but it also works like a muscle. When we concentrate on it and bring our awareness to that third eye space at the epicenter of our head, we're exercising that intuitive power of the pineal gland, that portal towards higher gateways of consciousness and our whole body, mind, soul integration. And the pineal gland has been largely neglected. And I think that, this mourning that we're going through, it's about neglecting the parts of ourselves that are more connected. And it's about these fragmentations that happen. we tend to see the world as dualities. There's good and bad, there's loud and quiet, there's noise and silence. But really, the duality is it's all one thing. It's all part of one continuum. And when we can hold space, like in IFS, right, we hold space for all parts. It doesn't have to be happy or sad. You can have both feelings at the same time. And how do you experience that in the terrain of your body? Holding the sadness, where do you feel that? How do you experience the happiness and hold it together at the same time? And I I believe that this is what creates this, harmonization within ourselves, and also then extends to the world at large. It doesn't have to be, yes, we can have all of these fragments, but I'm thinking right now of, like, a music metaphor, right? We can have, when a symphony is practicing in the beginning, before the performance, they sound pretty terrible, like, all the instruments are not they're all playing what they're supposed to, but they're just not in sync with each other. And then when the show starts, they all synchronize and they create beautiful melodies and harmonies, and everything is, exactly how it's supposed to be. So, um, so just bringing it back to, like, the inner work that well, actually, let me ask you, um, do you believe that if everybody just does the inner work on ourselves, then it's going to harmonize the collective, or do you think it's gonna require more than that?
That's such a good question. I mean, I can only speak from my own experience.
Yeah, for you.
I really don't, I don't know. That's a very good question.
Yeah.
I don't really know, end of the day, like, what's gonna bring harmony and peace to the world. But I definitely, from my experience in my life and from what I've seen from the people around me, is that the more I do my inner work, the more I can be at peace with myself, the more it radiates out of me, and it goes to, it brings peace to all my relationships and to all the interactions that I have. And it's like the most beautiful thing. Like, when I'm feeling really, like, loving and in alignment and in so much trust and openness and joy, all these great feelings
Yeah.
and frequencies, really. When I walk out into the world, like, what's being reflected to me is that. And even when people are having I was in a really good space with one of my friends, and then one of my friends came over, and we were on our way to a Mayan, and her car broke down. And it was really hot. It was like, like 100 degrees
Uh-huh.
Fahrenheit. And and I was like, we were sweating and waiting for this guy to come. And normally that would have, like, made me so, like, anxious and angry. But thank God, like, that day, like, I was in a really good place. And it was so peaceful. We had the best time. We, like, bonded. We poured water over each other. We had, it radiates to everyone. And so that's just, like, a very small example. But, like, I really do believe that consciousness is very contagious, extremely contagious, and it can spread even when you're not around people. It spreads to the world. The more you deepen your consciousness, that's not just you. You're doing work for everyone else too. And that's why can be so hard sometimes, because it's not just your pain that you're dealing with. Like, this is the pain of the world. This is what everyone's yearning for. I think even some rabbi said, I wish, that, like, Rabbi Nachman said this. Okay.
Oh, okay.
The way that you can understand the desires of the Shekhinah is really from understanding what you lack in your life. Like, what are you lacking and yearning for? That's what the Shekhinah is yearning for. And I would say that that's what the collective is yearning for. And that's what the collective is feeling. So it's really, like, your personal experience. It might feel so specific to you, and it probably is, but the feelings and the emotions and the energy that you're dealing with in that situation that you're in, that's collective that you're working on. And I really believe that, and I really see that in my own life. And obviously, like, that's my own perception of the world. So I don't necessarily believe that that's the truth for everyone. I don't know, but that's what I believe and what I've seen in my life.
Yeah, I hear that and I see that. I see that as well. I mean, we can only know what's, based on our own experiences.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I see the same thing for me. And I really like that example that you shared with how you handled getting stuck with your car breaking down. Um, I find that, for me, when I do these consciousness practices, it makes such a huge difference. Like the days when I practice Yoga Nidra, I feel like I can just handle so much more with so much more equanimity than on the days when I don't. Sometimes I feel like a zombie. And it really, I feel like energetically, it does make a difference. It doesn't have to be yoga nidra. It can be any kind of consciousness raising practices. Um, One question that I actually had for you also is around this. We're talking a little bit about polarities and the idea of sound versus silence. Um, so in Yoga Nidra, it's very interesting because we're asked to shut off all of the sensory input channels except for sound. You close your eyes, you lay still, you close off the gates to the sensory world, except for you still hear sound, the facilitator's voice. And it's interesting because there's like a bit of a debate whether you should include background music to deepen the experience or not, or keep it like bare minimum with no background music. And the classical teachers will say like, keep it bare minimum, no background music, because that's a distraction.
Mm.
And and yet um, so many recordings, they have background music, and I use background music for most of my recordings also because I find that the music also, it like penetrates into the cells and it actually deepens the experience in a way that complete silence, um, sometimes the silence is more of the distraction. So I'm wondering what your take is um, on that interplay between healing with sound versus healing with silence.
Wow, I love that question. It's such a good question. Um, it's such a good question. I really think it depends, and you have to really know yourself, know where you are in your healing journey. Because I do think that sometimes having no sound, like music, is so influential. And sound healing is again, we're resonating with these sounds, and it's changing our nervous system. So it really can affect us very deeply, and also it can bring up emotions that wouldn't necessarily come up if there was no music. So so it really depends on what you're trying to do, you know? Like, and that's what I would say is just knowing what you need in any particular moment. Cause there is something really important about silence and like not like letting yourself really, really be where you are without any influence, And yeah, if the sound is distracting, that's where you are, you know? That's okay. So it's just depends, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. I would. Yeah, I think that's very. I think that's very reasonable. Yeah.
Yeah, but I do think that at the end of a lot of my sound healing sessions, first of all, I also say in my sound baths that like in between in the instruments that I'm playing, I say that there's going to be silence, but the silence is not like it's not like, oh, I'm waiting for the next thing. It's like the silence is also a very big part of the sound bath, having that break.
Right.
It's even more important sometimes than the actual instruments because it really gives you time to like, whoa, like process and again, like give space to what the instrument did, for your body.
Yeah. Yeah. To really integrate. Um, yeah. Okay. Um, let's Okay, let's shift gears just a little bit. Um, I was wondering if we could do a little tiny experiential, either do like a little bit of the continuum practice or like one skill that people can try or experience that has to do with sound.
Mm. Yeah, okay, so, I'll just do something really short.
Yeah, like make it like super
Just
short.
a little snippet of a tool.
Yeah, that sounds
Okay.
good.
So, if we can just, gently come into our seated position, wherever we're sitting, and just we close our eyes and breathe, just noticing our breath, not necessarily forcing our breath, just noticing, are we breathing a little? Are we feeling constricted? Are we feeling like we can breathe a lot? Are we breathing from our lungs? Are we breathing from our tummy? Just noticing, just landing, dropping in, and feeling our seat or whatever we're sitting on, feeling where our butts meet the seat, just feeling the weight of our body on that. And also feeling the seat holding us up, but really letting ourselves drop into the full weight of our body. And also noticing if there's any resistance to dropping fully into the weight of our body. Just noticing. And now that we've dropped in a little bit, I want to just, for us to just feel our bodies and feel where in our body feels either just neutral, feels okay, or even good. Can we find one or two spots? Can be as small as like your pinky or like the tips of your fingers. What feels pleasant or just neutral? So for me, like the creases of my elbows feel good. So random and so small. Just really putting our focus on where things feel good. Now we're going to shift our focus to any place in our body that is holding tension, sensation, maybe a little discomfort. So for me, that's my shoulder blades holding a lot of tension. So we're just saying hi to that part of our body. I see you. We're going to make a sound and with our mouth while keeping our attention on that part of our body that feels tension. We're going to breathe a couple times into that place. And just imagine that as you're breathing in, the air is going into that place with tension. The cool air that you're breathing through your nose is going to that place. And then the warm air that you're breathing out of your mouth is releasing the tension, shooting the tension out of your mouth. We're going to breathe a couple more times there. Breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. In the cool, healing air and out the tension. And now we're going to, with our lips, create an O. And we're just going to say O. And we're going to hold that O and feel the vibration being sent to that area of the body. Imagine that the vibration is moving out of your mouth, but it's also the vibration of the O is moving into the space that you're feeling the tension. And it doesn't have to reach that place completely. You might not even feel it, but just imagining that that's what's happening, even if you don't feel it. So we're going to take a deep breath. And we're going to create that O with our lips and go. A couple times. So in through the nose. You just keep going with me. Okay. That place with tension. Throat. Just whatever sound comes out, let that be the sound. Really elongating the out of the O. We'll do it 3 more times. And now just with your hands open on your lap, just feeling what your body feels like now. Even if there's still tension in that area, noticing if there's any movement or if there's any shifts that happen in other places in your body. Or just noticing the tingling sensation if you have, or noticing if you're feeling heavier in your seat. Just noticing what comes up for you after this sound activation. So for me, I feel tingling in my hands. And I also feel that the area that was tense actually, for me, feels less tense, which is really cool.
I feel like I'm about to drift away like a leaf. Well, I feel so light.
That's amazing. Yeah. But maybe bring your hand to your chest and one hand to your tummy so that we stay in the body. And breathing into the hands, settling back into the body. Oh, and just like slowly when you're ready, coming back to being your eyes and being in the space, but only when you're ready, noticing if you need more time.
Oh, that was really good.
Amazing. Yeah. So that was
Yeah.
I actually learned in Continuum.
Okay.
And Continuum uses, I didn't do any movement with that, but uses breath, sound, and movement to work with the tension in the body. But yeah, like for me, that like the vibration of my own throat, like I literally can feel that going to the part of my shoulders and just soothing it and moving it and just, and also like helping me bring attention to that place that just needs my attention, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, this was so good. I it reminds me of there's a field of yoga called Nada yoga, which is the yoga of sound, and it's really about like our inner sound. And yeah, and when we were chanting the "oh," the prolonged "oh," I could feel the vibrations. I could feel like the energies moving and things opening. Um, this was really amazing.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, love it. Um, okay. Okay, we should probably start wrapping up for today. I feel like I could talk to you for a really long time.
Same.
Okay, so let's wrap up for today. And if you could wrap up with sharing any where people can, well, first of all, where people can find you and connect with you. And also any final conclusions or takeaways that you want listeners to hear from you, especially people who might be struggling with sleep or anxiety or, just the stress of life.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you can find me on Instagram. My Instagram name is actually Levite Music. That's my artist name. And hopefully I'll have a website soon. And yeah, you can contact me through my Instagram. And I would say, wow, for anyone who's struggling right now, which like I'm with you,
Like who's not?
I'm so with you. Alone. And you're really not alone. That's number one, is that we're all really going through this together. And even though like I'm on a podcast and like we're talking about sound healing, like we're all going through a very deep healing process right now. And there's ups and downs on that process. And really like I just wanna, if there's anything that I wanna share to anyone and even to myself, is like we should really just be blessed with compassion, like compassion for and forgiveness and trust that like we are literally exactly where we need to be. There's no rush. We are infinite beings and we're just in this life to, you know, we're in this life to adventure and to figure things out and to learn more. So there's no rush. You don't need to be anywhere that you're not that right now, you know? And 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 really if you're struggling with sleep, I would say binaural beats on Spotify, really helpful for sleep, especially ones that are specifically deep rest. There's so many amazing recordings on Spotify and on YouTube and very accessible. And they really, really help. Deep breaths help. And and I would also just say, yeah, I love you, and I hope that you can find love and compassion for yourself, and also know that there's so many tools out there that can really help, and, yeah, I guess that's what I would say.
I mean, yes. Wow. This was so good. And Lainey, thank you so much for coming on this show. You just bring such a great vibe and such a radiant, resonant energy to you. Um, I, I feel the love. I send it back. And and just such humanness and compassion to all of this. I don't even know what to call it, but just this whole adventure of this whole story, this whole adventure that we call life and healing with the music.
Yes,
Yes.
for having me, this was so fun. I had time talking about all of this, it's like my passion, so thank you.
If you enjoyed this conversation, I invite you to like, share with family and friends, subscribe to this podcast to help it grow, or leave feedback, whether online or offline. You're also welcome to join the Nale Yoga community on WhatsApp for the most recent updates on new podcast episodes and local events. Wishing you a wonderful rest of your day or night, wherever you are in the world, and I hope to meet you back here again soon. Be well.